Here's a live look outside right now. The Erath County Courthouse. People are now starting to leave the courthouse. Brandon Todd, of course, is bringing us that guilty verdict live just moments ago.
After the verdict, Eddie Ray Ralph, guilty of murder, capital murder, life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And former State District Judge John Creusot is on the phone with us now. Judge, I know that you're watching this. I appreciate you being here with us tonight. Your reaction to the verdict?
Well, obviously, the jury did not buy the defense's arguments that he was insane at the time he committed this offense. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that is what we call an affirmative defense. That is that the defense has to prove that he was insane at the time of the offense. They can put on evidence, but it doesn't mean that the jury has to believe it. And obviously, in this case, they did not.
And I remember earlier talking with you, you talked about actions. You didn't call into question a lot of it, but you have dealt with people who got not guilty but insane and some of their actions. And you said this suspect's actions didn't match up. I remember you talking specifically, sometimes these guys will not run from the police because they're almost proud of what they did. And you saw some problems with the defense's case right away.
Well, a lot of times, people who think that they have acted according to the law, and it's because of a severe disease or mental defect, they won't leave the location. They'll stay there because they don't realize what they did was wrong. In this case, you have a man who fled the location and who made several inconsistent statements, inconsistent within themselves from one another and inconsistent with being mentally ill or insane at the time of the offense. And those are things that obviously the jury has to hear, and they did hear, and they rejected his claim of insanity.
So we can assume there's going to be an appeal for this, right?
Oh, I would assume so, yes.
So, and I know you and I had talked a couple of times about the defense trying to declare a mistrial. I guess twice I think they did. That's going to come into play then now in this appeals process.
Well, yes, maybe. Oftentimes when appellate lawyers look at it, even though the procedures were followed, they realize in the totality of the case that those particular objections and motions for mistrial may not have much foundation. They may be included in appeal, and they may not. It just depends on how the overall case looks.
The big question at the time was those vials of testing liquid. Remember, crime scene techs left a couple of vials of a testing agent. If you were a defense attorney, an appellate attorney, do you think that's solid grounds, or do you have an opinion on that?
Well, it's hard to say because you have to look at the entirety of the case, all of it. And you have to look at how that came up. Oftentimes, when appeals are done, there are issues that were objected to and strenuously objected to during the trial that don't wind up in the appeal, because the appellate lawyer looks at all of the record, and if it does not appear that from the record that has any validity, then they will abandon it and go on to other things.
So, Judge, one thing we heard Brandon tell us is that there's only going to be one victim impact statement. I'm not familiar at all with this. I thought as many folks as wanted to get up to say something could, but only one? Is that kind of a normal process?
Well, in this case, the sentence is automatic. And so all of the victim impact statements come after the actual sentencing in the case. And it's up to the judge's discretion to allow any amount of them on, and I have no idea what the judge will do. The judge can allow 1, 2, or 10 or whatever if he or she wants to, because the sentencing is already done. The sentence has already been delivered.
Okay.
And that is life without parole.
And he's going to prison right away.
Yes,
right.
Immediately, yes.
All right, John Creusot, we appreciate it as always. You bringing more insight to this. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.